The following announcement has been paid for by Wild Games Productions.
This is Chad of Fear the Boot.
This is Aaron Stack, Tough Bitch of Fear the Boot.
And you are listening to Roll for Initiative,
the only first edition AD&D podcast.
You remember.
Roll your stealth roll?
Game books, pencils, pizza, cheese puffs, and a hell of a lot of dice.
And the Dragon Ball Cup.
Roll for Initiative. This is the Roll for Initiative podcast, where 1E is the place to be.
Welcome back to the Roll for Initiative podcast. This is 2016, a brand new year. We're on Volume 5, Issue 171. I'm sitting alongside Nick.
Hey, Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year. And host of the month, Sal.
Hey, everybody.
And apparently Sal has been drinking or something. He sounds a bit weird, but we'll just go with it.
He's been hitting that dwarven ale.
So I hope
Like somewhere, right?
I hope you had a good New Year, Nick.
Yeah, I did. Wonderful New Year, and looking forward to 2016 with a whole bunch of new gaming. So.
Yeah, new gaming. I mean, I started doing an actual podcast last year, and that should be coming out real shortly. I just had to do some editing, and we'll get it up on iTunes for all those folks that really want to listen. I know a lot of people have been asking about that, and I'm sorry. It's just taking a little time to get things done. I mean, I had to get a surgery done, and I was out for a little while, so I really couldn't make it up the stairs to get to the man loft. And and do editing. But I'm fine, and everything's back to normal. Thank you for those that were concerned, and that gave me prayers and wishes and yada yadas, and I appreciate it all, and I love you all, folks. And anyway, so
And Vince would like to be called Caitlin from now on.
It's like, don't get all mushy on us. But I'm glad you recover. I'm glad you're doing okay, Vince. Seriously.
Thank you.
Getting real worried there. What the?
So anyway, my computer is Windows 10 now, and since I like no. Windows 10 is actually really good. I have my laptops, all three of my computers on that here in the Wild Games Productions Studios podcast headquarters here. You should see all the computers I have around me right now for extra viewing and extra research while doing the show. I have them all on Windows 10. They all work without a flaw. I mean, it works so much better than Windows 7. Really? I just can't figure out how to get rid of that stupid chime that keeps doing that every time somebody updates something. I have to go through the sounds again. It's just, some things are in weird places. I'll figure it out. I apologize for that sound, and we'll just say that it was Sal farting.
Fair enough.
There we go. Sal,
wow.
How was your New Year's?
It was pretty good. Rather quiet. But for the most part, it's been very good. New gaming stuff coming up, so I'm looking forward to it. Looking forward to the new year being so much better than last year as far as gaming goes.
Well, yeah, you're going to be doing hopefully a game real soon.
Yep. Yes, that is the plan. That is.
Should we alert people what it might be, or give a hint?
Sure. I'm cool with.
Because it's going to be an actual play podcast hosted by Sal.
Maybe I figure we could start it off. We'll start it off with the one shot and then see how it goes. If people are into it, cool. If not, then we'll do something else.
So it has to involve
being host of the month and stuff. And
yeah, that too.
Well, we'll bring it up with the committee and we'll see if we keep you on for another month.
Yeah. Well, I'll talk since I'm chairman of the board. I'll talk to the board. And
since you're the authority.
I'm the authority, and you're just Sal.
Exactly.
You're just a Heyman guy, so.
Oh.
Yeah, I went there. Anyway, yeah, so the podcast has to do with a game from the 80s and a cartoon with turtles.
Yeah.
We'll just say
big
that.
fan. Yeah, big fan.
I'm sure you're...
Maybe ninjas, too?
They could be heroes in a half shell.
Maybe mutants, huh?
In a half shell.
So you guys are right. We'll be playing Robotech.
Yeah. Did you realize in the UK they called Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles because they couldn't use ninja, and they cut it up big time because they thought seriously they thought that the ninja was too violent, and they cut out all the scenes with a lot of sword fighting because they thought it was too violent.
Considering Leo with the swords was like a stormtrooper, he hit nobody.
Yeah.
He never hit a person.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
There was always other things around that person he was attacking.
right.
Hey.
Pin capes to the wall and trip people up and cut ropes, but never actually cut anyone.
Because that's how Splinter taught him.
If you
But
even,
now here's the deal: back when that role playing game was in,
oh yeah,
that was in Eastman Laird black and white days.
Yep.
They messed up a lot of people.
and the first edition,
yeah.
first of all, it was based off the comics, not the cartoon, because I think it was out
Right.
way before the
That's-
cartoon.
Yeah,
Right, that
that's
cartoon
correct,
came it came for that
like
because
in
they
the 90s.
they gentrified it and made it for the
Yeah.
kids.
So the first edition of that book had all those wonky like psychosis in there.
Yeah, are we going to get into this? Because I'll get into this right now. I'll pull the gloves off. We will get into this right now because I will go into some turtles right now. If we
No
need to.
turtles
right.
right now. That's for a different time and a different podcast.
All right, I'm just saying, man. Don't you get me riled up with turtles? We'll go.
Okay.
Well, I'm so. Oh, I mean,
You get me all kinds of crazy.
Yeah.
I will get crazy on you.
anyway.
Make me get crazy because you're a loser. I mean, Vince.
Okay, man. It's okay.
Sal, you all right, man?
A little fired up.
All fired up.
You know,
He's hitting on all 8 cylinders and going into 2016, man. Just
yeah, he's becoming Sal E again.
Nobody wants that.
No, nobody wants that.
Nobody.
Not even your wife.
Nobody wants that.
Anyway, so let's get things rolling on the ball here. Actually, Nick, you wanted to talk about the stars real quick?
Yeah, we actually just letting everybody know. Again, iTunes, you want to give a review for good or for ill, just go there, type in Roll for Initiative, and follow the links there, and you can give us a review.
That is
And we are-
ROLLF.
That's ROLL
Yeah.
for initiative. Let's get the spelling right here.
Seriously.
And, seriously. Indeed. And then, drop us a review. We're actually at 201 starred reviews, I might say.
Yeah, we finally passed the 200 mark.
Yes. And we have, of those, 174 are 5 stars.
Yeah, that's
So,
not bad.
thanks, Mom and Dad, and the rest of the family.
Well, that's a big family, Nick.
I do, they don't know what the hell I do on this podcast, but they'll, okay, 5 stars, that sounds good. So, now thank you everybody for giving us reviews, and it's actually helped us, kind of guide us along, give us some ideas, and so, again, thank you all for giving us those reviews there on iTunes.
All right. So let's head into our main topic of tonight, talking about basically adventures in the elemental planes.
Yes.
I don't know who you are. I don't know what you want, but are a very particular set of skills. Skills I've acquired over a very long career. Skills that make me a nightmare for people like you. I will look for you. I will find you. And I will kill you.
All right, so starting out this year, we're going to look at basically adventures or campaigns into what would be known as the inner planes. And what we're going to be covering is essentially the 4 elemental planes, air, earth, fire, and water, and maybe briefly touch upon the para-elemental, and you have the quasi-elemental planes, and you have the positive and negative energy. But really the focus is going to be on the 4 primary elemental planes of existence. And just to give everybody a basis of what we're going to cover, where our ideas are coming from, we have the Manual of Planes by Jeff Grubb. There was also an article on Dragon Magazine that came out way back in the day. What was it, issue 36 there, Vince?
I think 37. It was
37.
It was called. Let me just pull that up right here on my iPod. Yeah. You put me on the spot here for a second. Okay, it was called "In One Small Step from the City of Brass to the Dead Orc Pass."
Dead Orc Pass,
by
yes.
Ed
And
Greenwood.
I think that's
what?
Yeah.
Ed Greenwood.
Well, I
did
was
that
to say,
one?
I think that article, Ed Greenwood did that, and it also appeared in Best of Dragon Volume 2.
Yeah.
I do recall seeing that there.
And real quick, it's basically the theory and uses of gates, how to get
Yes.
it's talking a lot about Michael Moorcock's Eternal Champions and his writing style, and how you could take AD&D campaigns, use gate portals to get to different worlds, different planes, like going from AD&D to give me another one. Oh crap, I blanked. To Marvel, actually to Marvel, for example, they use it Marvel X-Men here. Or what was the Old West game? I can't think of it. Boot Hill. Yeah, getting to Boot Hill.
Gamma World. Like what we're going to cover here in a little bit later, the City of Brass on the elemental plane of fire.
There you go.
So that's one thing that we're going to cover in the topics here is just a brief overview. We're going to talk about, how do you prepare for a campaign, either as a DM or as a player that's going to happen in the elemental planes. Like how does the adventure party prepare for that? We'll get into particularly the druid, because the high level druids have some really cool abilities that they could just plane walk. I mean, and that's what makes druids really cool, because they're just not just hippies that hang out in the woods. Also, we'll be covering some of the I guess you want to call it the physics of the elemental planes that is covered in the book of Manual of the Planes. Just briefly cover that, some of the encounters that you might have there, and going into the specific planes, we're gonna talk about little bits on some other of the what I want to say, the maybe some magic, how magic is affected in those planes, and then we'll get into a specific setting that you can use as a campaign setting, and that's the City of Brass is one example that's actually out there. So that's kind of a brief overview of what we're going to be going over in this particular podcast this evening.
Well, now that you've heard everything we're doing, you can probably just go away if you don't.
Yeah, we'll talk to you later.
Yeah, we'll talk to you later.
Oh, I was just saying,
No, I'm just teasing.
have all the particulars here.
So
Sorry.
If you want to prep for City of Brass, there's a couple things you want to look at, and one of them is you're going to want to find online
a new character. Number one, you're going to probably want to have backup characters just to put that out there.
Okay, yeah, backup characters for one. You're also going to want to find, because it's free on the internet by Rob Kuntz, To the City of Brass. It was an AD&D tournament module that never actually saw the light of day. And the Necromancer games, during its little run in 2000, 2001, 2002, around there, when 3rd edition came out, they reprinted it for people for free, and they added a couple little graphics and stuff to it. So you can get that. You just Google To the City of Brass by Robert J. Kuntz, and you'll find it like a zillion links for it. I'll try to throw up a link on the show notes because Matt's not here today to do our show note stuff. That's one good resource. And if you want, you can Google, Stories from 1001 Nights, the Harvard Classics, 1909 to 14, Nights 566 to 578, the story of the City of Brass. Excellent, probably about, 10, a little over 15. No? Okay. It's about 21 pages. It's about where the City of Brass originated from, this classical writing here, a short story of basically how the City of Brass came to be and what the real City of Brass is compared to what we see in gaming today. So those are some things you can take a look at.
And there was 2 products that came out for City of Brass if you want to use them as a campaign setting. One, that I'll be kind of using as a resource when we get into an actual campaign area in a elemental plane. There was one that was done by Kenzer and Company. It's called The City of Brass, or Sir Robilar's City of Brass by Jeff Knight and Rob Kuntz. That was put out for Hackmaster back in, I believe, 2003.
Yeah.
And that's a pretty good resource. And if you want to use it for AD&D, easily backward compatible.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And he had another one by Necromancer Games. It was a box set called The City of Brass that was for D&D 3.5.
Yeah.
And you could still get that on Drive-Thru RPG. Now, I don't know what's the difference between the Hackmaster and the Necromancer Games ones. I'm sure they're similar in some respects, but either one, great resource. So you could get at Drive-Thru RPG, the Necromancer game one, either a PDF You can also get it soft cover, or you could get both. So, and it's gotten some pretty good reviews. It looks like 4.5 stars. So, and even though D&D 3.5, you can still make it compatible for first edition AD&D. That's definitely not a problem.
Any D&D edition, you can, if you're an experienced enough player, there's like most people listening to this show. I mean, I know there's some people that aren't as experienced, and we're not bragging or anything that we are, but we are. Yes. Anybody can look at any edition of D&D and be like, oh, okay, this is going to let me just find something that's close to it. Okay.
Right.
Mix and match. It's your game. It doesn't have to be an official 100. I mean, Sal, we were talking about this before the show. When we were kids, we played a game. We were just like, meh, you know what? Just roll the dice, see what happens. Oh, percentiles? Okay, roll that. Yeah. Oh, that number? All right, close enough.
Yep, and then it comes down to that whole, now that we're adults and we want to follow the rules. Like, for example, talking about the game I want to run, I have to re-go over those rules. I have to reread those and really get into them, because now I can't just do, hey, okay, just roll the percentile dice, be done with it. It's we gotta follow rules, especially if we're gonna have players that we don't know.
Yeah.
I can't tell them, hey guys, just check it out. We're just gonna do some. We're just gonna roll dice and basically role play, because you need rules now. But as a kids, we didn't need it. It was one of those things we just didn't need it, and it was fun for us to just do whatever. And that's the best part about taking any of this stuff and convert it back. Or there are people who do a lot of heavy drugs, and they like to take stuff from the first edition and go to 3.5 and further. So if you want to convert upwards for some weird reason, then you do that too.
I'm looking at the one by Necromancer Games here, for example, and I mean, what are we really talking about? It's really stat blocks for monsters. I mean, come on, that's all you're changing. The background, the maybe a little bit of the magic items you might have to tweak, but all in all, I mean, it's not that much to tweak out. And like I said, even with the Hackmaster version, it's just, first edition on steroids. So all you do is take away the extra 20 hit point kicker and to all the monsters, and boom, you're good to go. Yep. So I guess kind of starting off here, what you do to prepare. And I guess, Vince, you were kind of going into that on one of the ways like you could get to a campaign like that. Now prepare is like find a gate to one of these places and how you can use that.
There's plenty of modules written over the years from any edition. Well, I wouldn't say basic. I don't think there's anything really in basic. I know Advanced had a bunch of them. Second edition had a ton of them with the box sets that came out nonstop and shoved down our throats. And third edition had a bunch of them as well. I mean, I just put in Gate D&D, and like a list of these modules came up, and you could find tons of them for third edition, because they were just sending out modules left and right. Fourth edition has a bunch of them, but I would tend to stay a little bit away from that, because those rules are not really... They're more for miniatures than role-playing. Yeah. I'm sure people will argue and say, I can't believe Vince said that. But anyway, I don't care what they say. And fifth edition, I think, is starting to touch upon planes of existence such as Ravenloft and Spelljammer and things like that.
Yep. Which I would love to see a new Spelljammer come out.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind it. I mean, I have the box set for Spelljammer. I played it a couple times. I really liked it a lot.
Yeah.
And most people would just think, it's kind of lame. But, I don't know.
It's individual tastes, so, whatever. But...
just like Birthright. I love Birthright, but a lot of people didn't like Birthright. See?
But like I said, Spelljammer was one of the things also, when I was younger, unappreciated, because I didn't want somebody's sci-fi in my fantasy.
Yeah, and also, what was it?
Now it's a little bit more appreciated, because I understand.
That's true.
The one box set I'm thinking about, the original D&D Hollow World box set. People hated that game.
Yeah.
Like, every time I was like, oh, let's play Hollow World, people were like, yeah, I'm going to play Hollow World. It's like, why not? It's like monsters, and, you're trapped in the lost world, and you're stupid. I'm like, okay.
Those are some of the funnest campaigns, or like Lost World campaigns with dinosaurs and giant apes and all that jazz. That's fun.
Yeah. You don't want to put those stupid custom races in there. I'm like, all right, fine, never mind.
Anyway.
Honestly, I had heat with Mystara when it came out, because I was kind of like, this seems kind of weak. But now I look back at it and I'm like, all right, you can pick and choose. We're back to that. We're back to that because there were certain things that I did like. So you cherry pick what you want and make your game your own.
And just because there's not a label on it that says Advanced Dungeons & Dragons First Edition doesn't mean you can't use it. I mean, doesn't mean you can't go to your gaming shop and buy a 5th edition module and not use it for your first edition game, because you certainly can.
Yeah, if there's good ideas in there, why not use it?
Exactly.
Just go through
that's
it.
what I hope all these podcasts, that no matter who does them or wherever they're from, especially from Wild Games Productions, anybody, I hope people take that from all the podcasts that come out. Make the game your own. Okay? Just take it and make it something awesome. Just because it's not an official D&D book, just because it's not an official Spelljammer or Mystara or Hollow. Do what you want to do to make your game better. Make your game legendary that nobody will ever forget your game. Legendary.
Just don't steal crap from World of Cinnabar. Please don't.
Sorry. Oh, okay.
I like Cinnabon.
What?
Cinnabon's nice.
Cinnabon's delicious.
Oh, Lord. And derail.
So back to the City of Brass.
Yes. That's right. We're in the City of Brass.
Yes, or at least to the elemental planes, how to get there and how to prepare for it. So, like, talking about gates.
Yeah, so you have to have a hook to get there. You just really can't just go there. It's just like, you can't just wake up one day and be like, you know what, guys? I think we should go to the elemental plane of fire.
There has to be an adventure hook. Exactly. That is compelling the adventure party to go there for good or for ill. And I could give it an example of one I just had recently.
Okay.
We had my original Hackmaster group. My friend Adam came back here this month from Arizona, and we got the original characters back together. We got the band back together, man. And so I thought of an adventure hook to try to get them to the elemental plane of fire, particularly the City of Brass. And what my hook was that when they're originally going through against the giants, the last giant enclave is the fire giants, right?
Uh-huh.
So in the City of Brass book by Hackmaster, the Grand Sultan is half fire giant, half Ifrit. And there's these different clans, and one of the clans that is prominent in the City of Brass is a fire giant clan. So I had a little backstory to where a lot of these fire giants are not actually originating to where they think they are. They're coming from the elemental plane of fire. They found some information that led them to that. So they've been sent by their employer, if you will, to or benefactor, to find out who's doing this in the City of Brass and trying to stop them. So that was my adventure hook right there. So yeah, there has to be a hook to get there besides just going to killing things and getting experience points. I mean, that goes without saying. You're going to do that anyway. But yeah, there has to be a good adventure hook for it. Maybe some sort of calamity has befallen a city. It's somehow completely frozen in ice, and the reason being is that there has been an opening to the elemental plane of ice by some wizard, and oh my god, I'm going into the show the movie Frozen, aren't I?
Yeah, you are slowly.
Oh my god. Oh no.
Nick,
okay, I'll just
let it go.
I'll just let it go.
Let it go.
Okay, I'll just let it go.
Don't break into a song. Don't break into a song.
All right. I won't. I promise.
No.
But I mean, that is a way. I mean, you could do it. You could do it something like that. So yeah, you're right, Vince. You got to have some sort of hook to get there.
Yeah.
Now, once you get the hook, how do you get there? Yeah. If there's no obvious way to get there from whatever's happening or what might not be happening, but you have to get to that place. And
let me ask you guys a question about since all these elementals. Now you just brought up the ice elemental, okay?
Yeah.
The plane of ice.
Elemental plane of ice. Yeah.
Do you feel like people only use the elemental plane of fire? Like they feel that is the most brutal one?
I don't know. Possibly. Probably because it's got as far as gaming's concerned, it's got the most mystique around it because of the original.
It just seems like it just seems like the elemental, the fire elemental, the plane of fire. Everybody else, like the other ones, kind of get shuffled off to the side.
I think fire gets used a lot because people associate fire with demons, and they're like, "Well, you're gonna go through the plane of fire to get to hell," so
that might be so. But as I'll talk about later on in the Hackmaster City of Brass, the other elemental planes get a little bit of a showing in there too. So you get the kind of bounce around there, and it's all the reason why the special place where the City of Brass is located on the elemental plane of fire. But the kind of the go along with how you get there, you got gates. I like the other one is the and they have this in the manual of the planes, is an elemental vortex or elemental. I call it a nexus.
Yeah,
it just sounds cooler, in my opinion. But basically, a vortex or a nexus is an intense area of that element that is so intensified and so concentrated it actually opens a gate, or there's an opening to that plane. Like they give a example, the elemental plane of fire is the heart of a volcano, the center of a mountain chain for the elemental plane of earth, bottom of the sea for water, or the eye of a typhoon or hurricane for the elemental plane of air. So those are some potential ways to get there. And also you got magic items that I think the amulet of the plains, I believe, can get you there. Also, there's a well of many worlds, I think, can do that too.
Yeah,
I believe the well of many worlds, and I'm certain artifacts and relics, I'm sure, have
druids can get there
abilities. Druids too, and that's where we get into the druids. How the high level druids can easily just plane walk to a particular elemental plane. Yeah. And I'm looking here in the Unearthed Arcana. They can at 7th. What is it? I'm sorry. At the
7th. It's like way up 18th, there.
Yeah, it's like 17th or 17th level. They can go to the elemental plane of Earth at will.
Yeah.
Then at 18th level, fire. 19th, water, and 20th, air.
The only time they become useful.
Yeah.
I was going to say, otherwise nobody ever plays them.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's, well,
and
I got a whole thing about druids. I have a whole new respect for druids now.
And, I did when, when they started not being those crappy hippies who couldn't use metal.
You want to play a kick-ass character? Half-elf druid magic user. Seriously, you're going to rock everybody's world. 21st level, you get to go to any para-elemental plane.
Yeah, but don't forget, with druids, getting to those levels is almost kind of like really
almost impossible.
Yeah, because you have to defeat the other druid to become that druid, and it's just
that's right. You know what that is, man? That's straight up
Thunderdome.
That's Dark Jedi stuff right there.
It's Sith. It's the Legends of the Sith right there.
It almost is. Yeah.
Scythian.
Did Lucas steal?
Back in the day, it sounded like they were going into Thunderdome. 2 men enter, 1 man leaves. So.
It sounds like Lucas robbed off.
Yes.
Imagine that. Imagine you find out on Lucas's deathbed, he's like, I used to really love Gygax. Me and Gygax used to hang out. And he started telling me all this stuff, so I just stole it. I just stole all of it.
Oh my God. That would explain the Wand of Force.
I met him at Caltech University, and he was giving a speech.
Hey, Wand of Force is basically a lightsaber, so. It is. So.
That would be absolutely amazing.
So, and everybody's mind blew. So yeah, that's several ways of going to those inner planes. And then you got to survive them. How do you survive a complete plane made of fire or water or earth? Well, that goes with your preparation before then. You're going to have to find certain spells, magic items to help you survive in that environment. And not just for your own physical body, but what about all the stuff that you're carrying? I mean, is it going to survive going there? Depends how much of a jerk your DM is, I guess.
Yeah, that just sounds like your DM's just going to be a dick and just all your stuff you lose it, So
yeah.
But if you're that high,
high,
it's not going to matter.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they get into on the manual of the planes how breathing, time, gravity, all the particulars about that. If you really want to incorporate that stuff into your campaign, I kind of leave that to the wayside because it's just way too much for me as a DM to track. I just figure if you find some sort of magic item or some spell that you can continue that'll protect you and everything on your person, then you're good to go. Mm-hmm. So, or something that provides, like a water breathing if you're going to elemental plane of water or something like that. And they go into the movement. And one of the things I like is the encounters. And one of the things they talk about is the animentals, which is basically like a badger. Oh. You could be on the elemental plane of fire and have like a fire version of a badger, something like that. Or elemental monsters. Maybe you have there's a water version of an orc. I don't know, water orcs, or what else is a good one? The Catoblepus. Maybe there's an earth version of the Catoblepus, something like that. Huh. So you can have just like stuff out of the Monster Manual too, but just composed of that element. Maybe, and as a DM, you kind of tweak it out of that monster to reflect that. For example, maybe that a fire elemental kobold actually has a little bit of a fire attack, or you get in a certain radius of that fire kobold, and you take 1d4 points of damage when you're within like 5 feet of the thing, something like that. Or something that's made of earth. Maybe they get additional bonus to their attack, to their physical attack. Maybe they get a better armor class because they're more of like rock, possibly stone. So nobody got that. Just right over. That's one of the most powerful spells ever. Stone the rock, and then the reverse one, rock the stone. Come on, man. Anywho,
there was a whole other avenue I was going to go down, but then decided not to.
No.
Yeah.
Fine. And well, I guess also they have in the manual of the planes, where in the inner planes somehow the how magic reacts, and how as a DM and a player you got to be careful about what magic that you use.
Yeah.
And also there might be some added effects. It might heighten, like for fireball spell on the elemental play of fire, for example, might actually technically do more damage because it's maybe that magic, if you want to play it that way, is tied to that plane. But if you attack somebody with a fireball in the elemental plane of fire, it's not going to really do anything to them, like we had in our last game. Someone playing a magic user, they get to the city of Brass. They're being attacked by. I think they were being attacked by a couple of fire giants on the way there, and he says, "I'm going to use fireball." I'm like, "What?" Okay, go ahead. So, yeah, there are some spells, and they go into in this book about how some of the spells can be augmented, or there can be different variations of spells. For example, there's the cleric spell resist fire. Maybe you can tweak it out to become like resist element, so it could be resist, air or earth, resist ice. So you can tweak that out just to resist a particular element. They also have animal summoning spells in the inner planes. Mm-hmm. They can be tweaked out. They'll summon the animentals, for example.
It sounds like a transformer.
I was gonna say, I was just gonna say, I'm like, that's like those transformers.
Oh, the lame Asylum edition Transmorphers.
No. Oh, that was amazing. The
really?
the primate, the Beast Wars.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, like it was like that poor take on the Transformers with the animals. They only turned
Beast
into
Wars?
animals and not
Beast
cars.
Wars?
Beast Wars.
Yeah.
Yeah. Terrible. Well, way to go, Nick. Way to make us all hate Transformers all over again.
Well, yeah, hey, Michael Bay already did that for you.
Well, fair enough.
So yeah, there's several, about 3 or 4 pages in there about what certain spells can or cannot do, how many they might be augmented or modified. And then they go a little bit on the player characters, how they might be, the classes might work differently in the elemental planes. Clerics and druids might have a little bit of changes. I found this interesting. Thieves, when they retain their natural their abilities, but against a native of the plane, they suffer a minus 20% modifier to their attempts. So don't know why, but that's built into it. Rangers, they lose their advantage of avoiding surprise, but they can retain their 3 and 6 chances surprising others. So,
do magic users lose their spell weave tap or?
What?
Spell weave? Yeah, well, I always associate because of friggin' Forgotten Realms has me burned into my mind. But every magic user taps into the spell weave when they go to cast spells, and I always felt when they go to different planes that connection might be altered somewhat.
I guess if you're playing in Forgotten Realms, I would probably use that if I was using that as my campaign setting. Sure.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Also, the Cleric's Turn Undead ability might be changed depending if you go to the negative and positive material planes. Obviously, so
yeah. Wow.
And they have some more rules explanations there. So those are like basically the physics of all the different elemental planes. So, and then it goes into the actual 4 different elemental planes in the book. And one of the things I thought was rather interesting is, like, for the different elemental planes, they talk about like different pockets. Like in the elemental plane of air, you might have a pocket of the elemental plane of earth there, or elemental plane of ice kind of floating there. So, depending, I guess, if you want to look at it, wherever you are on that elemental plane in its quote unquote proximity to another one, that other plane might poke through that other elemental plane. Like the elemental plane of ice might have a little pocket that might poke through the elemental plane of earth, or even fire, for example. So you have all those different little pockets of the other elemental planes. I thought that was kind of neat. So you might run into those. So you have that, and they also have specific creature encounters that you might have on those particular planes.
What are the top 3 creature encounters?
Oh, the top 3? Mm-hmm. My goodness. Surprisingly, on the elemental plane of air is a type 1 demon.
What?
Well, you have genies.
Right.
And I think one that you're going to go over, the acromentals.
Yeah.
You're going to go over it. And, well, it goes under what the section they call features of that plane, the features of the elemental plane of air. And that goes into like some of the most common inhabitants. You have, on the elemental plane of air, you have the actual air elementals themselves. You have the Djinn. Mm-hmm. You have Akkadi, which is the queen of free-willed elemental creatures, air elemental creatures. You have Bahamut.
Okay.
You know, the king and god of all the good dragons. He inhabits the elemental plane of air. And you have what these things are called, hooks and bubbles. And these are manifestations of spell casting from the primaterial plane to the elemental planes. And I guess one of them, a hook, it's a great spear or grappling hook, or hanging in mid-air, glowing blue, green, or golden yellow. And this is what they call, this is the business end of a conjuration summoning spell directed at the elemental plane by a prime material magic user casting it. It's trying to conjure an elemental, and that's the representation in that plane. Basically, like you hooked onto an air elemental, and that's the hook.
So it's basically a big fish hook.
Yeah, basically a giant fish hook or grappling hook, yeah. And it does say in here, should a non-native traveler touch a summoning hook, he must roll a saving throw versus spell. And rolling above the saving throw number means the traveler is unaffected. While rolling below it means the traveler is catapulted to the deep ethereal as if swallowed up by an ether cyclone. So touching those is bad. You see a big hook like floating there in the elemental plane of air,
you
don't
have to touch it at that point.
Yeah, well, you can tell somebody not to touch it. Don't touch the big red button. What do they do?
Well, you have to.
Yeah, you got to touch it. And the other one's called a bubble, and that is a silvery spear. They can range from 1 to 9 inches in diameter, and this is the elemental plane end of a prime material contact other plane spell. So they have those.
Well, because I was wondering, I was figuring like, okay, what exactly, when you go out there, you obviously have to be uber levels to get to the city.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So now, from what you just mentioned, basically high-level monsters and then a named NPC.
Yeah, of course.
No, pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah, so you're basically talking epic level characters. This isn't obviously for your 8th level druid to go check out. This isn't for I need a flaming sword of fire. I'm going to send my 6th level guy. No, you don't. That's not who this is for.
I would assume that you're talking about characters that have reached name level. They've reached at least the minimum name level of their class and beyond. So yeah, that's absolutely true what you're saying. This isn't like for your 1st through 3rd level characters. They're probably not going to survive very long.
Yeah, you know what? I found that it's kind of like sometimes people start getting a little nervous if they start hearing a great idea like the City of Brass. If you start, just the overall feel of this is a cool thing. Right, just talking about the City of Brass, you're like, okay, awesome. The elemental plane of fire. This is where the jinns and the genies, they all come from, and this could be amazing. We have to go in and get something from a temple in the middle of the City of Fire. So now they want to do this, but they just started their game. Their guys are 4th, 5th level.
Yeah.
So the best thing you could do, you bring in little elements. Don't throw your poor guys. Don't throw your players in the City of Brass at 4th level.
No.
Don't give them the gate at 5th level. Don't do it to them. Take stuff from it. Maybe give them a map. Maybe give them a scroll. Give them a book explaining the City of Brass. Give them something to work towards.
Right. Maybe their first major adventure is just where they're at right now, but they have to defeat some sort of Ifrit that has come over from the elemental plane of fire.
Right.
And he's leading he's creating fire elementals, and maybe he's leading fire giants and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And that's your hook to maybe leading up to other things.
Exactly. That's exactly what I feel like that, because sometimes when if I'm listening personally, I'm listening to a podcast and they're like, okay, we're gonna talk about Tiamat and Bahamut, and we're gonna talk about all the named dragons. Okay, so now you're like, oh man, this is awesome, and you're still running your 1st and 2nd level campaign. These guys have just come out of the gate, but you really, really want to bring this idea to them because it's a great idea, and the NPCs are awesome, or the magic items are awesome, and it's just, as you don't have to discount it. You don't have to just ignore it and say, well, my guys are too low level, screw this. And then you got to kind of start culling it. And again, we're going back to that, make it your own, make it fit. Make that fit.
And I guess you kind of look at something like City of Brass maybe as the culmination of a long-term campaign. And like you're saying there, Sal, it's like you start off with bits and pieces at the very beginning. This is where it's going to lead up. Like any good story arc, you're not going to give it all away in the first act.
Right.
You're going to have little bits and pieces along the way for the player characters to pick up as they gain in strengths and abilities and experience points. And eventually they will come to what you want them to encounter at the very end. So, yeah, any good DM will do that. So, yeah, don't anybody discount what we're talking about. Even if you're starting a campaign, hopefully this will give you a great idea how to create a whole giant story arc leading up to this. So, so that would be really good. And I guess just let's kind of go into that. I suppose if everybody is okay, let's talk about City of Brass. So, if everybody's cool with that, I can get into the one book I have.
Sure.
So, the one book I'm talking about is the Sir Robilar's City of Brass, and it was for Hackmaster by Kenzer and Company. Unfortunately, it's kind of hard to find right now. It's kind of hard to come by. You might be able to find it on Amazon or on eBay, or if you do some hunting out on the web, I'm sure somebody might have a copy to buy. But I really love this campaign setting. Again, this is something where this is a culmination to a longer running campaign that you want to do. I mean, you want to have, name level characters, or, at least around 8th to 10th level before you start really getting into something like this. And it's to give just a basic overview of the City of Brass, how it's written. The City of Brass on the elemental plane of fire is in a unique, in lack of a better term, geographic position on the City of Brass. Think of the City of Brass as like being on the shoreline and between the other elemental planes. That's why it's so important. It touches on all the other elemental planes in one form or another, and it's become a center of trade and commerce for other elemental planes and also some of the other outer planes. And there's a really good map where they talk about a larger map of where the City of Brass is in relation to everything around the elemental plane of fire. And this is probably the only place where you can, as far as the elemental plane of fire, where if you're coming from the prime material plane, that you can survive, because everything else is just fire and brimstone and everything.
So that's the landing point, basically.
Basically, yeah, this is the landing point. This is the most hospitable place. This area, several hundreds of square miles, that's around the City of Brass. Because they say the ambient temperature, the average temperature around in this area is 104 degrees Fahrenheit. So, and that's what's considered tolerable.
But is it a dry heat?
It definitely is, surprisingly so. And they do get into how the City of Brass is on this large brass disc that is rotates around a 40-mile diameter brass disc where the City of Brass is on. And there is the geography around it is very interesting. You actually remember those elemental pockets I was telling you about before. You have those here or in the landscape around the elemental plane of fire where the City of Brass is. For example, there's a huge rock formation that is a connection to the elemental plane of earth. There's a connection to the realm of air, and there's also one to the elemental plane of ice. Believe it or not, there was, in the history of this, there was what was known as the Great War. There was a incursion from the elemental plane of ice by ice version of a Nereid. The Nereids are from the elemental plane of water, but this one he's a Nereid, but he's an ice version of that, and he led an army from the elemental plane of ice to try to capture the City of Brass and take it for himself. And there was this great war that was ensued, and even to this day, there is still a huge spire of ice several miles across called the Citadel of Ice. And it's surrounded by what is known as the Tower of Vapors and the Veiled Lands. And that's part of the geography of this place. So even going here, it's not just all going to the city of Brass, there's other places you can adventure here, particularly that when your adventuring party comes here and then they see this huge column of vapor and mist and everything, and they're going, what's that? That's actually part of the elemental plane of ice kind of jutting into the elemental plane of fire. And there are ice elementals and there are frost giants over in there too.
And I don't know why, but I keep thinking I'm going back to like Planescape and going to the like the wars between the demons and everything, and it's just like I keep thinking about that, like between the ice and the fire, you always and then you have that one dopey little love story where the Prince of Fire and the Princess of Ice are all, it just keeps bringing me back to that, because it's like it seems to be like the easiest thing to do to your players, just kind of give them that dilemma to deal with, and then you have to keep traveling between the two. So
okay, yeah. So they also in the book they go into the social, religious, and political structure of the city of Brass, and they give a breakdown. There is a hierarchy of Ifrit. Ifrit or Ifriti for the plural term. They're lawful evil. They have strict hierarchy in their city, and there are what's known as noble Ifrit, and you have where you have high noble, low noble, merchants, irregular, or common or low-born. Now, according to the book, you can do this however you like, but the ones that you summon or come from a ring of Ifriti or what have you, those are your high noble Ifriti, and they have all magical powers of all the Ifriti. And then there's low noble born, then they have a little less magical power, and then you have the merchant class, you have the irregulars, which are basically your city of Brass military and police, and your common or low born. And they break it down to who has as much magical power. And obviously the high noble Ifrit have all the magical powers of all other of your full Ifrit that you see in the monster manual, and it kind of goes down from there. And it goes into the religion, and there's a very strange religion in this city of Brass called the Blood Cult, and it's actually led by humans. The going into the backstory of this, there was a overthrow of the original sultan of the city of Brass by his son, his half-born son, who's half Ifrit, half fire giant, and one of the
just think about that dirty night. Ugh.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So yeah, he has the backing of fire giants, but also this humans helped him out in overthrowing his father, and their cult called the Blood Cult. They worship some sort of entity that's supposed to be the personification of the elemental plane. And then you get a little bit more into the book of what they're actually are. Their priests aren't actually priests. They're more like they're just magic users. Whatever this primordial fire thing that they worship doesn't really grant them the powers of clerics, but the Blood Cult, when they were created and they helped out the Half-Blood Prince, you might want to call him that.
Oh,
sorry, Harry Potter reference, but well, he is a half-blood technically, half fire giant, half Ifrit. He gave them, I guess you call it immunity. There's something called the Compact, that whenever you go to the city of Brass, any humans or extensions to demi-humans, either elves, dwarves, and what have you, you have to swear loyalty to the Compact. And then you can go into the city. Once you get into the city, you sign yourself into a book, and they log the time, and you have 24 hours to get two noble houses to I want to say to not support you, but what's the term I'm looking for?
Back you? Like you get
the back you. Yeah, they sanction you.
I have to second in.
Yeah, they officially sanction you that you can come into the city of Brass. And actually, that's where that's where my party is right now. They're trying to find somebody to sponsor them. So that's about how you get into the city. And they also get into the different clans. Wow,
you can obviously read that part if you want, if you get the book.
Yeah.
We don't need to go into every little detail of the book, but
no, it's just like there's the different clans, the different cults. There's really good breakdown of the different races that might be there, including trolls. There's a new monster called Fire Troll, and they talk about the different classes.
Wait, how is that? Yes. Wait, Fire Troll?
That'll just screw over any power gamer.
Yeah, yeah. There's a Fire Troll.
That doesn't really.
Yeah.
Okay.
You want to mess with a gamer? Oh, trolls use fire on them. Nope, not these.
Yeah.
It's a Fire Troll.
Yeah.
There's also what are known as Dark Gnolls that have been bred here at the City of Brass on the elemental plane of fire. You're more heavy, badass versions of regular Gnolls.
Okay, now, not for nothing, Gnolls are awesome as they are.
Gnolls.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of Gnolls.
Gnolls.
And,
yeah, I love them.
Yeah. So, like...
I do too.
So what's so badassery about him?
Yeah, like what aside from, they obviously, are they still not like the minions of the Bargash and all that other kind of stuff? Or
no. Well, they're chaotic evil. They have 6 hit dice. So a little more powerful than that. They suffer 1 point of damage per die for fire or heat. They're immune to heat exhaustion. They have their own, shamans. They have. So basically, a little more hit dice. Yeah, shamans.
Shamans.
Yeah, a little more hit dice. They don't take as much as not shamans.
Oh, sorry.
Say Haymans?
No,
shamans.
Not Haymans.
Shamans. I should say shamans.
Oh.
Okay. They also have one called the Hunter Gnoll, which is like the Dark Gnolls, except they're more like a assassin. They go out on their own, and they do assassinations for the City of Brass. And you also have half trolls as well.
The City of Brass deal, now they got their whole... They're like a... it's not like an evil place. Or is most of the denizens chaotic, neutral, lawful evil?
Right. I mean, yeah, overall, the City of Brass, they're free and they're lawful evil. Yes, they have a law structure, but it's, lawful evil is like might makes right. You're in that social structure, and that's where you are. But other denizens from other planes can come here, and they're not uncommon to be seen. There's an uneasy truce between the Ifrit and the Djinn. For example, if I can find some of that, there is there's somewhat of a ceasefire between the Mayrid and the Ifrit because of the Great War that happened. And I don't know if I can pronounce this right, but the ones from the elemental plane of Earth, the Dao, D-A-O, which are like, the Dao, I guess you might want to call them. Then they're pretty much neutral, but they do have financial dealings in the City of Brass. But you can also find demons, devils over here, which is not uncommon in the City of Brass. Salamanders, which come from the elemental plane of fire, they go into is like they don't like to be in the City of Brass. They think it's too cold there. They tend to hang out in the real far reaches of the elemental plane of fire. So, and there's all the different parts of the city. There's broken up into different districts, and now they're very rather detailed in that effect. There's actually a human quarter of the city, which is like the middle class. So that's primarily humans and some fire giants that go over there. There's a lot of good adventure hooks once you get into this that can lead to other things if you really want to get into politics of this thing, particularly in the different houses or clans, how they all interact, and you can really mess with the political structure of the city. So that's
what I wanted to know. That the big political structure of the whole city. Is that something that if you show up to the city of Brass, okay, can a player approach this place, or are they just immediately going to be killed, sort of deal?
No, they can approach this place as long as when they get to the gates, they are asked, "Do you wish to write in to be part of the human compact?" And that means, as a human or a humanoid, as long as it gets sponsoring within 24 hours of you getting in the city, you can come in and out of the city. You're given a special mark that's generally upon your body, either on a shoulder or on your forehead. And you can travel about the city of Brass freely as long as you don't break any laws.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's not like you get to the city of Brass and they're free to see you and they, like, go out and slay you. Oh, no. Because they're all about, like, how much can we get from these people? So, if they kind of figure, well, they're probably, they probably got a pretty good magic amongst themselves. Well, we might want to trade with them. So, yeah, as long as you swear that you will not break the compact and you sign in that book and you get your sponsorship, you're good to go. So, yeah, there's no real, unless you actually try to break into the city, you know, and there are ways to do that. And if you're caught, because then they can always refer back to that book. If your name's not in the book, you're in big trouble. You're probably going to be sent to the mines with the fire trolls for the rest of your days. But yeah, there's the different clans like you're talking about. You also have the different districts that have been broken down, very detailed. And then it goes into some adventure hooks and some side missions that you can do while in the city of Brass. And I also talked about like the different. One of the most favorite things out of the book that I saw was the random encounter tables.
It's always fun.
And in the random encounter tables, like general encounters, you might encounter a demon or a devil, fire trolls, some fire giant commoners, just for example, and what are known as random elemental phenomenon. This blew my players' minds big time. In the elemental plane of fire, particularly the city of Brass, because there's so much magic going on in one form or another, there's sometimes are backlashes of the elemental plane itself. And these manifest in various different ways. Could be, and you roll randomly for it. It could be a flame storm. It could be a sulfuric geyser. And you can be walking down the street and all of a sudden this geyser of sulfur just spews up from the ground. Acidic clouds, lava sprays, a small meteor shower, just to name a few. A lightning strike, or my favorite, which I rolled on, an elemental extrusion. And what that is very nasty. It is basically a massive fire elemental. And it's just ginormous size. It does 6 to 60 points of damage when it attacks you.
Nice.
It's got 200 to 400 hit points.
So it's basically a giant fire kaiju.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah, it's a big fire,
it's a fire
Godzilla.
kaiju. That's aptly put.
Right,
it's a fire kaiju. And they encountered one of those. And surprisingly, they kicked its ass. But anyway, so yeah, they have all those different random encounter tables. They also have a breakdown of new monsters in here, and one of them I talked about was the fire trolls. They also have the dark gnolls. You have blood knights, which are a part of the blood cult. You also have what are known as the wailing Ifriti, or the screaming Ifriti. They're part of a clan. They're basically Ifriti berserkers. They can go into berserker rage, and you don't want to run into those guys on a bad day. So they have that, and also new magic items, new potions, just to kind of, and also a new class for Hackmaster known as the realm channel.
The Realm channel. Oh, all right. Well,
is that like the Spice channel for Dirty Afrides?
Not quite.
And does
I guess so if you're in the fire, sure.
And does
I didn't want to. Yeah.
No, go on.
And they also a nice little added touch. They added some of the flora and fauna of the city of Brass and around there, like different types of plants and small animals that you kind of like spice up the area. You know what they're looking at, like.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah, so it's very detailed.
Little color commentary there.
Yeah, it's 126 pages roughly. It's a very good book, highly detailed, and even in the stuff that they have for the different districts of the city, they only highlight on just a few things. There are so many other buildings in the city of Brass that are not even indexed. So it gives you some ideas, and you can, as a DM, just have a ball filling it out.
Or 2.
Or 3.
And one of my favorite things there are gladiatorial arenas in this place. And that's where my player characters are now.
So you're actually running this at this point?
Yes, I am. For my friend who came here, we got for a brief stint here. He came back for a few weeks. He's doing some training for his job, and his company flew him back out here, and we got the original party for original campaign for Hackmaster back together, all their original characters. And they're such high level. I'm like, what am I going to do for these guys? I'm like, I got it. City of Brass. Boom. There we go. So they eventually found themselves in gladiatorial combat because they had to find a sponsor for themselves. They already had one, but they needed a second noble sponsor. And while they're going into the gladiatorial combat in the arena, they might find noble sponsors there in the crowd for them. So that's what they're doing right now.
And speaking of sponsors, we'll be right back after this.
G.I. Joe will return after these messages.
This podcast is brought to you in part by a not very generous grant from Lesser Gnome, publisher of quality role-playing games since last year. Gnomes value high-minded programming just like you. Learn more at their website at www.lessergnome.com.
Are you enjoying the show you're listening to right now? Want to help support the show? Why not head over to the Patreon site, patreon.com/WGP. That's patreon.com/WGP. And help support the network for as little as $1.50 a month. That's right, $1.50 a month goes a long way. Thank you.
Now, back to G.I. Joe.
Oh, and we're back, I assume, right?
Yeah, we're back now from our sponsor, Sal. Thank you.
Terrific. Well, you know what? I didn't see the light. The light didn't go off, and that's what I was ready for.
It's in your mind.
Fair enough. Speaking of light, Nick, you were saying how you're running this for your players. You dragged them into the City of Brass, and now they're looking for sponsors and all those things.
Mm-hmm.
In looking up some of these creatures, I was looking up some elementals, and my original thought was I'm going to take a look between elementals from first edition and then the other editions and see if there are any major glaring differences aside from the game edition mechanics.
Sure.
And honestly, there really haven't been. They go into, each one goes into the different things. But what caught me were things called the Archimentals.
Mm-hmm.
Which are not like the Animentals. It's just another kind of a witty play on words. And I don't know if you're running them, if you're having your guys meet these. They break down into some of the 3 categories: the good Archimentals, the evil Archimentals, and then the neutral or the undecided Archimentals. And it started out back in the Fiend Folio. They used them. They called them the Prince and the Princesses.
Elemental Princes of Evil or whatever they are.
Right. Now, the thing was, back in the day, for anybody who doesn't know what an Archimental is,
I don't.
Do you not?
No.
Let me tell you what they are. Archimentals, basically, they consider themselves the leaders of all of the other elementals. They're not official, though. It's not like they sat down and said, okay, these are the guys in charge. They put themselves into that position. So they give themselves the names of prince and princesses and stuff like that. So they've put themselves in those positions. And starting off for the good Archimentals, you have the prince of the good water creatures, who is Ben Hadar. Okay, which kind of gives that regal name. He seems like you could probably talk to him. Chan, the princess of good air creatures. Okay, Entemuch and Sunis were the prince and princesses of good earth creatures, and Zaman Rule, who is the prince of good fire creatures. Okay, right. So now, and that was going back to my question earlier. It just seems like you put your players there, they're just screwed. When they walk in, they're dead. Mm-hmm. And notice how all the good guys are the earth and the airs, and the waters, and the evil guys are the fires. It's kind of weird the way that works out. Mm-hmm. But then we go down to the evil Archimentals, and you have Cryonax. He is now here's where it gets a little different. He's the prince of evil cold creatures, not just ice. Cold is also the element.
Right.
Which makes me wonder, and I had asked Vince earlier in the week, as a DM, Nick, you're a DM, would you consider death and life an elemental?
Ooh.
No. Or chaos and law?
Well, if I were to tie life and death to an elemental plane, it would be the positive and negative material planes.
Okay. Well, but that's what I'm saying. Like, you could, as a DM, you could just bust out a death elemental.
Sure. And,
again, you give it some kind of an amorphous form with the black clouds. And, it's a trope of, this whole black clouded, amorphous, wiggly, free-floating thing. Mm-hmm. And now you have a death elemental where you can take it anywhere because it actually transcends all of the other elements. Right. Just like life. All of the other elementals, they have life, they have death. So those can actually sit atop your little pantheon if you want. But I'm digressing. We go back to the prince of evil fire creatures, who is Imix.
Yep.
And he's jammed himself right there in the middle. Ogre Mosh, who is the prince of evil earth creatures. Ol Hydra, which is the princess of evil water creatures.
Sorry.
And Yansi Bin, who is the prince of the evil air creatures. And I'm noticing a different Asian flavor on the air elementals.
Yeah, I've noticed that too. Absolutely, in their names. You're right.
And now, these are the three of the uncertain alignment, and these are back from the Manual of Planes in '87, the original one.
Okay. And those are on what page?
I don't know. I have no idea what page they're on. Now. I collected all of these into one spot so I can read them for the show. But it was in '87 in the original Manual of Planes. Only their names and planes are given, nothing else. So these are up for grabs for a DM to use and just do whatever you want with. There's Bwim, Bwimb, Bwim, who is the prince of ooze creatures. Schlimbia, prince of the magma creatures, who obviously doesn't work into the fire somehow.
Magma.
Magma.
Yes. So they're tied to the para-elemental planes. Okay.
Yeah, these are the uncertain alignments. And then there's Ekak. Settle down.
What?
Ehehkahk. He's the prince of smoke creatures. Again. So you can have a smoking Ekak in your game. But now... That's terrible.
It is terrible.
Like, they just phoned these names and they're like, you know what, man, we need 3 new guys. We're just good. Oh, screw it. Just put these names in.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably not some of their best work.
No. That was done where somebody had a few beers.
Yeah. or maybe they were visiting the plane of smoke at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Indeed.
Yeah. But so basically, those are the guys who are on the top of the food chain on all these. You want to use these in the game. I would use it sparingly because I don't suppose these all deal with mortals all that easily. So but they are a good way. Maybe you have your temples and your churches. It's a good way to get your players involved in it.
Okay.
You can use them as a mention. You mention them. Not to say you're ever going to meet them, but you mention them, use them as the hook to draw them in. Or you have somebody another NPC who is a follower or who is searching for, or better yet, I think just top of the head, you think of a thief. You have to send a thief into the City of Brass to steal something from in there. So now automatically you're screwed, because if you get caught, you're done. So now your whole game is based on, do we do an Ocean's 11 thing where we all go in there shining, happy, smiling with our tuxes on and try to steal it that way? Or do we try to go backdoor? And, so now these are all things that when you're high enough level, great. You can really just go to town, because the City of Brass, like you said, that book, super detailed. It'll get you in and out of that city any way you want to do it. So, those are the things I feel like it's a kind of an endless resource as far as that goes.
Yeah,
because,
I think I kind of see where you're going with the evil for the evil princes of the or the evil elemental princes.
Yeah. Like if you look at it
for plot hooks, I could see how you could do that. Like maybe there is a cult that's dedicated to IMIX, and that's how your campaign's starting. It could be just like a little faction that's near a town, and they are, stealing people and sacrificing them to IMIX, and your party has to go and find out where this cult is hiding out. Maybe even some people in the town are part of the cult. So you can kind of tweak it that way. And that could lead you up to that campaign that might lead you all the way up to the City of Brass or something like that. So, yeah, that's a pretty cool way of, tying that in together.
Well, if you look at it, like all of these guys, all of these, the Archimentals, the way I'm envisioning them, if your players are high enough level to get over there, they're dealing with lower levels demigods, or they're dealing with those sort of things. If they're plane jumping and they're not in Planescape, these guys are high level enough where they're dealing with some decent outer plane, inner plane stuff. So to me, these elementals seem like, I see them as like the warlords, the Kenyan warlords who put themselves into power. They're not the government, but they damn well can take it.
Yeah, I guess it's kind of like built into their name, the Archimental. They're the archetype. They're the almost, I guess you call it, they're the primordial source in a way of that plane, and they're the maybe like the embodiment of that plane.
Yeah,
even tied in that way.
These guys can actually, I think it was, I want to double check before I actually quote something. I believe it was stated that in the original that they were able to go toe to toe with the outer lower level deities. And that's why they put themselves in those positions.
Sure.
Because they simply were, they were able to. So they had that power.
Sense.
Yeah, they had the power. So they basically said, well, we're the strongest. We're in charge. Everybody else, piss up a rope.
Yeah. In fact, I think I have it. It's even in that City of Brass book. Besides the blood cult, the largest religion is devoted to IMIX, the Prince of Evil Fire Creatures. He has the most temples around in the City of Brass. So he's, in all intents and purposes, he's a lesser god, So you might even want to if he has worshipers and he grants them abilities, you can even tie that into the deities and demigods book, and how, if he's a lesser god, he has these abilities. So, yeah, they're not just pushovers,
Yeah. No, these guys were put in these positions. Well, they weren't put. They took these positions
Yeah.
And now, getting them out is going to be damn near impossible. It's like unseating a deity without it being a deity, because,
Well, they might be deities in their own right,
Well, again, anybody can be worshipped and, by a cult or whatever else. But the fact is, these guys aren't Jim Jones. These guys have some power.
Right.
They have backup for this. They can back up anything, any kind of crap they talk, they can throw it. So it's good.
I guess it depends as a DM how you want to play. Do you want to play them like they're actually gods, but lesser gods or demigods? Or do you want to play them as just they're very strong forces, elemental forces in the plane, and they have a position of power there? I guess there's a couple of ways you can look at it.
Also, as a DM, if you want to take these, and if you don't want, like, I know some people get very wary about bringing deities and gods into their games, and having players. Have players interact with gods all the time, and now it's not special anymore.
Right.
These guys are probably petty enough where you can have them introduced to the characters and make them something. These guys are just. And the fact of the matter is, the players are the ones coming to their plane.
Right.
So it's not like they're going out looking for trouble. They just happen to have a little bit of a hard-on now for the players, because now they can, and they're petty. And they're not gods. These are just really, really, really powerful elementals.
Yes.
So these guys are the perfect high-level thorn in the side. Mm-hmm. And, that thorn can basically just rip you in half.
Sure. Oh, my God, yes. Just looking at all their regular abilities that they have, I'm looking at the Fiend Folio, so... Yeah, they're not to be trifled with. I mean, they can detect invisible, dispel magic at 20th level, infravision once a day, no alignment, suggestion for 12 hours, teleport with no error. So it's not like they're just really strong elemental of their type. No, they have some other special abilities too. So and
I guess,
I'm looking at Crownax here.
Mm-hmm.
He can summon one of the following groups once per day: 1 to 4 white dragons, 1 to 4 frost giants, or 1 to 6 yeti. Yeah. You just summon them. Hey, come on. No big deal. I think IMAX can probably do some of the similar. Yeah, he can summon either 1 to 3 fire elementals or salamanders. He could do that I guess once a day. So, yeah, each of them can summon other elemental type creatures that help them out.
I was gonna say they could basically summon some of the scarier crap from the monster manual. So
yeah, pretty much.
They're an adventure in and among themselves if they choose to be.
Yeah, I guess you can. And if these elemental princes and princesses, particularly the evil ones, get wind of these meddling people from the prime material plane, they might have some of these other creatures come involved. Maybe even some of the good ones, like you mentioned too, might want to somehow help out the player characters. There's a bit of a, and they're using the player characters maybe as pawns in some other schemes going on. You never know.
Yeah. Or they use. I'm trying to a dignitary. They use maybe they use a mortal who is a worshiper of them. They use that mortal as the go-between between them and the players. So now, I need you to do this for me. I need you to do that for me. I'll pay you handsomely. Here we go. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, they're helping IMAX. And you know what? I keep villainizing IMAX. We're making him the bad guy, the big bad guy today. So you have that where it's a bait and switch. Mm-hmm. Because IMAX isn't always, he's not on this plane, so that's how he gets them to come to that plane with something they need and something he can't get. Blah blah blah. There's so many avenues you can go with it, with the elemental lord, the Archimedes. And the Archimedes, just simply because it lends itself to an overarching villain in the background pulling the strings, or going after the players.
And I guess in a way that also goes into with high-level campaigns where it falls into things like politics and the machinations of what goes on in the court in this particular place in the elemental planes and what happens there.
Get ready for this? Here you go. You have a high enough level game, you basically run a Game of Thrones game with elemental lords.
Oh my gosh, that would be so cool.
Right? And now this whole thing is set up to, have the politics, and you may never have to raise a sword because your whole game is a political game of intrigue amongst elementals who you have no business being around.
Right.
But now you're in the middle of their crap.
And then you can use a good center for that to happen is, like I said, the City of Brass, where all those type of planes have some sort of representation there, and they're all trying to vie for control in the City of Brass in one form or another. Yep. Or it could be someplace else entirely. Oh man, that's such a great idea.
That's right. And I bequeath that to all of you because I love you all. So now let's move on to our final segment.
Yes,
because I will end that on a high note right there.
There you go.
Yeah. That's what I'm talking about.
Alrighty, now let's go right into our final segment of the night.
You have opened the treasure chest. You may choose an item.
So our final segment is the treasure chest, as you heard. So we're going to reach into the treasure chest and see what we can pull out of that treasure chest for today.
Does it squeak?
Oh,
jeez.
We oiled it. We oiled that chest. There's no squeak in that chest.
No squeak in that chest. I mean, squeak in that chest.
Squeak. No squeak.
Yeah, sorry. So we're gonna pull out one of the. It's from To the City of Brass by Robert Kuntz. Is there an echo in here? I just want. It's perfect for adventuring in the elements. It's called the Ring of Elemental Form, and this one's just for fire because it's gonna go for the City of Brass. So as described, this is a perfect item that you could probably use for a campaign, or at least steal the idea for a campaign, I would think, because I could think of many possibilities to do with this. But
I don't know if you were just here when I said do a whole campaign like Game of Thrones, right? Did you hear that?
Yeah, I heard it.
That's pretty good one, right?
That is good.
See, Nick liked it.
I liked it.
Yeah,
I'm going to steal that.
We don't care. Anyway.
Hey.
When worn on the right hand, and I questioned this before when I read it to you guys, why is it only the right hand?
Yeah. What happens if it's on your left hand?
That's very descriptive for a ring, so. You going to say, Sal?
Huh?
What did you say?
No, go ahead.
All right. I just think that's very descriptive for a ring. Just particular hand.
Yeah. Because it doesn't say what happens when it goes on the left hand, does it?
I assume it doesn't work.
I guess so.
Or
you
could take that and make it that it works the opposite.
Ooh.
So you become
just screws you worse somehow.
Well, that's not a bad idea.
So what's its abilities?
I'm getting there. It confers upon the wearer the following attributes and powers. You get an armor class of 2, and no other adjustments are added in, so it doesn't matter what your dexterity is or your armor class already. It automatically goes to 2.
Mm-hmm.
It gives you the ability of sustenance, just as the ring would be. And it gives you the following. +2 to all saving throws, -1 per 4 points of fire damage dealt, -1 to hit character with fire-based attacks, which is really good. Besides conferring the above-listed powers, when worn on the right hand, again, the right hand only, the character is transformed into a limited free form of freed. Interesting. He or she has the strength of one of these creatures, so it's a 20. You'd be a 20 strength if you didn't have that. And you can pass among them freely, basically without being seen as something different. You also have the ability to speak and understand the Afridi language. However, the usage is limited to 3 times a day consecutive, but once a month only you can do this.
Okay.
Not for nothing, though. That's still pretty badass.
Yeah, that's still pretty badass, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm kind of thinking, now, the armor class 2, would that override rings and cloaks of protection as well?
It says nothing else matters. Okay, like James Hetfield would say, nothing else matters.
I was just,
yeah, I stole it. You got that.
You got
okay.
I'm the Metallica fan of this podcast.
Man, talk about a the perfect magic item for a magic user.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's how I'm picturing it. Mage, automatically armor class 2, and you can do all that other stuff. Come on, man. Yeah. Maybe even a thief. That would be a good... I think that would be a good magic item for a thief, too.
Well, yeah. But, yeah, I don't know. I mean, unless you're going to the elemental plane of fire, I really don't see a purpose of this ring.
Yeah, well, yeah. Because now my initial thought, I'm like, okay, give that to an assassin to assassinate one of the opposite lords, one of the opposite elementals.
I mean, I guess you can become an Ifrit just for the day to go, annoy people and kill people if you wanted to, but okay.
Now,
okay, I was going to say now.
What?
Do these abilities only works on the elemental plane of fire, or is it can be used that way anywhere?
Well, it says if it's worn, it works, so it can be worn and work anywhere. I mean, I don't see anything else in the description saying. It says warning only works in the elemental plane of fire.
I don't see a problem with this magic item. Armor class of 2, you can turn into an Ifrit once a day. What's not the like?
Scare the crap out of your family.
Well, if you're facing down some other big baddie, turning into a lesser Ifrit could be definitely an advantage. So get those fire attacks. If you're taking on, I don't know, a white dragon. Just throwing that out there.
The usage is 3 consecutive times, but once a month. So that means if you use it once, and then you do whatever you do, and then you don't use it twice more, you can't use it for another month.
Mm-hmm. So you got to use it. If you use it once, you better use it all 3 times that month.
That day.
Or that day.
Yeah, okay. From what I'm reading, it's 3 times sounds like, once a month.
Okay. Now, it imbues armor class 2 no matter what. It's just the special abilities you got.
Yeah.
You have 3 times. Okay. That sounds like something I would use in case you're going up against a big bad guy. When you're going up against the big baddie, that's when you start using that ring.
Yeah, but
that's pretty much it.
But think about it for 1 second. Okay, so going to the elemental plane of fire, what level would you say you would be?
Name level of your class.
Okay, your name level. What would your armor class probably be an average of? Negative something.
Yeah, negative something.
Yeah. What would your strength most likely be if you were a fighter or maybe a cleric?
Well, I'd be probably augmented with magic, at least a 19 or a 20.
What would and your saving throws would probably be better off without the ring.
Possibly, yeah.
So this is one of those things where, again, this would be amazing for a low-level group, but then for them to get it, they would probably have to go to this high-level place to get it.
Yeah.
Well, it could be an item that's on the regular prime material plane.
Yeah, that's what I'm kind of thinking.
And maybe the big bad is questing for this because he wants to go to the plane of fire to find something.
Maybe it was given to one of his just kind of like a part of a plot hook, I guess, would be maybe it was given to a high-level priest of of IMEX. Just throwing that out there. I know we're focusing on
poor IMEX.
Oh,
yeah,
IMEX.
The leader of the evil fire elementals.
Yes.
Maybe he gave that to one of his highest priest, his highest cleric.
I thought you said Imus.
And IMAX, yes.
I was like, Don Imus is in this.
He's a hard
Don Imus, yes. He's the evil elemental of broadcasters.
This is Don Imus listening to the fan.
Yes, I was talking to my gangsters here.
Got this giant cowboy hat.
Yeah, let me make fun of my cowboy hat, Sal.
Yeah. But, maybe he has given that to his highest cleric on the prime material plane, and that's his special gift to him. So,
or you totally make it a mundane thing for them.
Oh, okay.
Like somebody gave it literally as a gift or a wedding ring or, something dopey that they got it. Now the players who have this will be like, oh my God, I have this giant ring. And somebody's like, yeah, I that's a gift. I gave that to my daughter, or I gave this to this person for their birthday, or something really inane and dopey.
Yeah.
Because honestly, like Vince is saying, if you're that high level, that ring is kind of crap. That ring would be a gray in an MMO. Like, it's just kind of like, oh, cool, green.
The only positive benefit I could see is changing your form to look like one, and you can blend in. That's the only thing that be the advantage right there.
Yeah, if you needed that sort of thing, absolutely. Yeah.
Everything else on there is just pretty much meh.
Yeah.
I mean, you're sure it's good to have that the 1-4 hit point thing, but...
Well, actually, that would be actually a great adventure in and of itself. You have to put the ring on, which weakens you in order to blend in.
Ooh.
You have to take the form of an Ifrit to go and work through this whole situation. Now you're weakened.
Plot twist.
Yeah.
Plot twist.
That's just crazy.
Stop it.
Sorry.
All right, well, so let us know what you think, RFI staff.
Do they have fire goblins?
Yes, they could.
Tell us what you think, RFI staff at gmail.com. 570-865-4210 is the hotline. Give us your opinion, and we'll take something of something.
Well, give us your opinion, and we'll
do something with it.
We'll do something with it, and we'll make sure, Sal reads it. Or wait, if Sal's still around, of course.
Did what? What do they do to it?
Because, we have to have host of the month, so.
Yeah.
Well, it's a revolving door.
The fourth chair is a revolving door chair. So.
Yes.
It's an ejecting chair.
Yeah, it's like the drummer from Spinal Tap, like I've said in the past. Burst into flames.
Well, I'm going to go finish mixing this nitroglycerin, guys. I'll be back.
Great.
Wow. There goes Sal. So we're looking for a new fourth chair. If you'd like to apply.
Good.
All right, so we're going to say keep it original, keep it old school, and good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
The Roll for Initiative podcast is a production of Wild Games Productions in association with D20Radio.com. You can visit us at RFIPodcast.com or contact us on our forums at OSRGaming.org or even by calling us at 570-865-4210. This podcast is produced for entertainment purposes only. All other uses are prohibited. And remember, if your magic missile spell doesn't automatically hit, you're playing the wrong edition. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time on Roll for Initiative.